And welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, along with Luke Jackson, the managing editor of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com, and our very special guest who's on with us weekly, the old left-hander himself, number 39, Ross Grimsley.
Oh,
Lefty,
let's go with 48.
48, that was the number you wore?
Yeah.
Well, you got a 39. What's that, Eddie Watts jersey?
No, that was his old jersey. Yeah, I was 39 when I first got the O's, and then George Staller let me change with him. He was 48, so that's
I have never liked those numbers. I've never liked 37. Dobson wore 37,
yeah.
but I never liked 37, 38, 39 for pitchers for some reason.
I did. 39 was it
That's
wasn't a
it.
big deal, but I said, can I get 48? And obviously, if it's a coach, they're usually very accommodating. And
All right. We finally have a mini win streak, which is we
Oh,
won the Orioles won a series
oh,
against
okay.
the very dangerous Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They won a series, and not coincidentally, the day that Zach Eflin returned from the IL.
Right.
Luke, of course, will defer to Ross eventually, but what does Eflin's return mean? And now stacked with hopefully Dean Kramer turning things around and the way Tamayuki Sagano's pitching, suddenly it looks like they can put together series when they can win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, Zach Eflin's return will really help them. They really missed him when he was gone, and he was probably one of the top two or three guys they couldn't afford to lose when they lost him. And now they could use a couple more Zach Eflins as well, but you can see how much cleaner the brand of baseball they play is when they are playing behind Eflin or playing behind Sugano.
Yeah.
Guys who throw a lot of strikes, who get ahead in the count, who pitch with great tempo. Eflin's almost like a better version of Sugano in that regard. And he's not going to miss a ton of bats, but he's going to manage contact well, and he's not going to walk anybody. And I mean, I forget how many starts he's made as an Oriole, probably like 15. I feel like he's given him a chance to win in like 14 or 15 of those.
Yeah.
And that's what he gives you.
Yeah. And that's what you need to gain that old adage, Ross, and I used it in my column today, that your team momentum, and when you're 9 games out of 500, behind 500, under 500, and you want to gain some momentum, that's the word. And momentum, tomorrow's momentum is only as good. Your momentum is only as good as tomorrow's starting pitcher. Now, at least there's a little bit of a ray of light in that tunnel.
well, like we said last week, you get out of your 5 stars, you get 3 of them that are throwing pretty well, and the other 2 can maybe give you one outing that will help out. But you get 3 of them. Those 2 that aren't doing too good, your bullpen is going to take a pounding.
Yep.
But you hope that your guys that are pitching well can get you deep in the games. But having Eflin, that's a big thing. Strike thrower. Sagano, another guy, not overpowering, but I mean, they're 7 games out of in the loss column. I mean, there's 123 games left, and I mean, and they haven't played well, so you got to think that at some point in time they're going to start swinging the bat better. You got 2 guys, Holiday and actually Mountcastle and Henderson are 3 guys that you can depend on. The last couple of weeks, they've been hitting very well. But you're going to have to get some more guys that are swinging the bat, at least do something productive to drive some guys in with the runners on base. But the pitching, I just, that's pitching and defense is not as important as it used to be. But the pitching, you get some guys that can give you some starts, get you deep in the games, and that's going to change things a little bit. So, I'm a little more confident than I was even last week.
Yeah.
And it's all about the hitting. And I really think that the hitting at some point in time is going to pick up. Well, it has to pick up. Anything they do has got to be better than what they've been doing.
Particularly against lefties, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah. What, 3 and 9 against left-handers? Well, they could
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be Colorado. Colorado's 1 in 10,
Whew.
so against left-handers.
Well,
So yeah,
Ross, you know Steve Jeppy. He sent me a really pleasant text this morning. He said the games that Morton and Gibson are in have decisions. The team is 0-9. They're 15-15, other than those two guys. Now, I'm fully expecting both of them to pitch better now. I think Morton is look, he's not going to be back to being a star, and he was never acquired to be a star. He was acquired much in the way that Jordan Lyles was acquired 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and Kyle Gibson a couple of years ago. He eats some innings and takes some pressure off your bullpen. And that's really in a way where they failed the team miserably, you
you
know.
know what's really bad and what really hurts those guys is they're not well. You really have nobody in the rotation that's overpowering.
Right.
You have nobody, so you're getting the same look basically every night.
Yeah.
For those guys to be effective, they're going to have to really be able to throw strikes, change speeds, locate the ball, and do things obviously much better than they're doing now. But it puts them kind of it puts you in a hole kind of when you got everybody you're running out that throws about the same. There's nobody that can give the hitters a
Yeah,
different
and
look.
that's where not having Kyle Bradish really hurts
Sure.
because when he's going well, he can overwhelm even good lineups with just pure stuff. I mean, we're talking about 99-mile-an-hour sinkers with really good changeup and two really good breaking balls.
And Rodriguez
So
as
I mean,
well. You know.
yeah, yeah, not quite to the level of great of Bradish, of
Bradish.
course, but yes, you're correct.
Want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. And I don't know what the holdup is, but they still are not open for business at the new Timonium location at the old OTB. But they will be shortly, and we will update you on that as it occurs. But right now, if you're looking for crabs, steamed crabs, the Costas Inn is the place to get them. 410-477-1975. Call that number to reserve your crabs. Check on the size, availability, and price point so there are no surprises to ruin your mini vacation at the Costas Inn. Back to talking Oriole baseball now. And not just Oriole baseball, but we talk about MLB baseball. We finally got a little break in the logjam. We were wondering when the first shoe would drop. Pittsburgh Pirates dropped Derek Shelton after 5+ seasons. I don't think anybody can blame Derek Shelton for what was an untenable situation to really win more games than you lose in Pittsburgh. And then just yesterday, after a 21-0 shellacking by the San Diego Padres on Saturday, the shoe finally dropped the inevitable Bud Black. But they are, and look, Pittsburgh, you can clearly just say the club doesn't really commit to winning. They really don't. In Colorado, there's money there. The
Hmm.
fan base is going to come out and support that team
Hmm.
if they win.
Yep.
They're just a disaster of an organization and have been just about. And I'm not saying Dan O'Dowd was a great general manager, but compared to what they've replaced him with over the last, 14 years or so, or 11 years, I think he was fired in 2014, or not. He was not retained. They're a disaster and an embarrassment. They're
And
worse. They're worse this season than the White Sox were last year.
and that's a tough division to be a disaster in. I mean, it really
Mm-hmm.
is. And they have never really figured out how to build a winning team in that environment, meaning a mile above sea level with the elevation and the offense friendly environment. And they're never going to be able to sign any pitchers. And
No.
it's really difficult to build a sustainable winning team if you can't attract pitchers. And so they've got to develop their own arms. And it's a difficult environment to develop arms because like their AAA team is in Colorado Springs. That's another very friendly offensive environment. And so what happens when they come up to the major leagues, they just get shellacked, right? And that hurts their confidence. And and Ross, you would know this much better than me. You certainly you kind of have to have a certain repertoire that works in elevation. And sometimes when you pitch
Yeah, pitch a lot
elsewhere,
of road games.
yeah, you
Pitch
pitch,
a lot of
yeah,
road games.
and when you pitch elsewhere, like sometimes your stuff doesn't play the same it does as it does at elevation. It's just very difficult. And it used to be at least that they had a great offense, and they were able to draft and develop some hitters like Troy Tulowitzki. I forget if Carlos Gonzalez
Go.
was a draft pick or
Yeah, I think he was
an
a draft
international
pick
signing. I
or an
forget.
international.
Um, so they were, and I mean,
Todd Helton,
yeah, Todd Helton. They attracted Larry Walker in free agency, and they put together in the late '90s and early 2000s some absolutely monster.
Arenado.
He's another one. So they've had more success on that front. It's just that it just seems like they've been spinning their wheels the past several years, and it's really snowballed into what it is right now.
I wanted to ask Ross something. How well do you know Bud Black? Because
A little bit.
I've known Bud a while. Tried to recruit him one night. He and a buddy came into Jean Claude's when I was bartending back in 1980 or 81, and I tried to recruit him. I didn't know it was Bud Black. I said, "You look like a ball player." I said, are you up for playing in a Sunday softball league?" He
Oh,
goes, "Yeah, could be." And anyway, it was Bud Black. But I would think if there's anybody that could navigate what Luke is talking about and bring out the best in a pitcher, I think Bud's a very smart baseball person and a good teacher of the art of pitching. And the fact that what Luke is saying is true, and he's been the manager for 8+ years, that does mean the environment is really, really difficult to navigate.
You know what it comes down to basically, bottom line is you got to be, as an organization, as a front office, you got to be committed to winning, or and at least put a product out there. I mean, you look at Wrigley Field, they had some pitchers. Fergie Jenkins pitched there.
Yep.
Louis Tiant pitched in Boston. I mean, there's some places that you can, be successful, but you have to, you have to pitch. That's the bottom line. And again, if you can't get them and people don't want to come there, then you got to do, you got to trade. You got to and developing your own pitchers. But I mean, in this right now, this environment in Major League Baseball or in baseball in general, guys, it's investing in pitching is not a good investment. So obviously now you got to develop your own pitchers. That's what the Orioles need to do. I mean, bringing the fences in, I thought was that they were starting to move in the right direction. But since pitching and defense are not important anymore as it once was, let's just say hit the ball out of the ballpark and just drub the other team. But that doesn't work. I mean, obviously they think it does, but it doesn't. But it all comes down to being committed to getting the best players you can get and put on the field. And that means you might have to spend some money. And a lot of teams don't want to do that. They're satisfied with going out and getting maybe not the top guy out there or one of the best that can help your team. And that comes down to scouting. Scouting is not what it once was. They don't have the scouts. They watch a lot of video of guys, and that don't tell you the true story of a player, that you need on your team that will fit in. So there's a lot of negatives out there when it comes to putting the best players on the field.
I mean, how much of this kind of cosmetic change when you fire a manager, when you've got a thankless, a thankless situation, is just cosmetic? I mean, in other words, isn't the real culprit out in Colorado? I think Ben Charrington's a pretty good baseball person. And as I say, the ownership there doesn't make the financial
Right.
commitment necessary to put out a sufficient product that's major league caliber. But Colorado, I don't think it's just cheapness. I think it's just ineptness by the
Well,
general
Steve,
manager.
look at what's happening with the Orioles.
Yeah,
I mean, you take that and you can blame Hyde all you want. It ain't his fault.
right.
I mean, they go out. They didn't realize starting pitching was going to be bad, but they knew they needed some help. Then you get injuries. Then the guys they bring in, I mean, come on. Now you go out and you get Sanchez. I still am mind boggled on that.
I'm okay with Sanchez at $2 million. How did they
But
get to
geez,
the
I mean,
number eight and a
is
half
he is
million
he going to
dollars?
help? Is he going to help you win?
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's an awful catcher. He's always been awful. He's a step above awful now, but still, I mean, he's not a
Well,
guy.
at least that's progress. He's a step
Yeah,
above
really.
awful.
But I mean, you win 101 games, you win what 90 something last year. You're on the cusp of having a team that could possibly go deep in the playoffs if you get a couple of guys in here and there. And the guys they got just weren't the guys. I think there are other people out there you could have got that would have helped a little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So I don't blame it on Hyde one bit. I think the front office have failed the team, failed Hyde, and failed the players.
Well, the question
And
is, in Colorado, is the fault going to be the manager? At what point does ownership say, "Hey, the guy that's built this is really horse
well,
hockey"?
I would think that's coming soon.
Yeah.
Um, whether that happens in season or after the season, I mean, they're impossibly bad so far. They're 7-33 with a historically bad run differential through 40 games. It's like their opponents have scored like 125 more runs than them so far this year. That's hard to do.
That's not
Uh,
good. That's not good.
it's not great. And like you said on Saturday, they lost by 3 touchdowns. Although the Orioles did that earlier this season too. I mean, as you mentioned, it's not necessarily a payroll issue there because I mean they gave Chris Bryant a lot of money and that blew up in their face almost immediately. Not to say that it was predictable that it would blow up this spectacularly, but there were a lot of indicators pointing the wrong direction
Yeah.
when his last couple years in Chicago that perhaps whoever ended up paying him was going to regret that. And Colorado paid him and immediately regretted that.
And Didn't he go to San Francisco for a year?
Yes. Oh no, it was a trade deadline. The final 2 months of that season.
Okay. And
And
he
I
was
forget if
awful there. Yeah.
there was the trend lines for him the last couple of years were bad.
Yeah.
And
Due to
Colorado,
injuries, due
yeah,
to, his body's broken down.
right. And I just like I said before, in the late 90s and early 2000s, at least it seemed they had a plan to just basically try to bash other teams into submission with their offense. It seems like that they don't can't even do that anymore. It seems like there's an identity crisis in Colorado about what they want to be, and I'm sure that identity crisis has gotten worse in the past several years as that division has gotten better and better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Orioles have a 6-game homestand starting Tuesday night, tomorrow night, against the Minnesota Twins for 3. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then Thursday at 12:35. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Nats come to town, and we finish up with the Nats right away before the Orioles hit the road. Do you see a little chance, Ross? You said earlier in the podcast that you were a little bit more optimistic than a week ago. Do you think the club could win? I mean, right now to me, 4 out of 6 against these two teams would feel pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they got 123 games left. What a quarter, not a quarter of the season. What a
75% of the
yeah,
season left.
left. Yeah, and I mean, a lot can happen, and if they get some guys back, I know Eflin is really.
They could win 20 games in a row.
I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, we've seen some stuff, but it's what the attitude is. I'm not really sure. You're in the clubhouse, Stan. You probably see.
I'm not in the clubhouse during the games. I'm in the clubhouse
Yeah,
after the
I
game.
mean, I'm talking after the game. You can get a vibe of what's going on, and no one likes to lose, obviously. But I think these guys this started the second half of the season last year, hitting wise,
Right.
and again, I think they get some pitching, and they may go out and make it. Somebody might wake up and go, "Hey, we can get somebody. We may have to give up somebody, but you know what? You're right there. You're very close to having a World Series team in the next several years.
Yeah.
So, and you just need a guy here. You need pitching, and that's what you need. And obviously, you're not developing it, and that's another thing that they need to really work on. But
I think Mike's getting that memo. I mean, he's a smart guy. He may be an arrogant guy in some regards, but I think he's got that memo now. He knows.
if he doesn't, and if
Yeah,
he doesn't do this, then
yeah,
he might be the guy that's gone.
yeah.
And I mean that's again, that's not crazy, but where they're at during this off season, what they did, and now, I mean, it's they continue to lose somebody, some head's going to roll. I mean, that's almost and it's crazy. You got 3 hitting coaches, and that for me, that's not good. That's not good. You got 2 pitching coaches.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes, you got 2. I guarantee I've seen it before I mean, you want one word. You want one guy saying. The other guys, you go throw batting practice, flip, or do whatever the hell you do. But you get too many because I think the players will go. They're not hearing what they want to hear. They're going to
go to find somebody else. Yeah.
And now it's total confusion. And when Holiday, when his dad just sees something from last year, a very minor thing, and tells him, and now he's swinging the bat like he did at one point at the end last year. That tells me that's something right there. I mean, there's not many guys on that staff, that have really some credentials, big league. So,
Luke,
what do you tell
Ross is on fire today. I tell you what, remind me never to get on Ross's bad side. What part of the bed did he get on?
But I like the go flip line is just go flip. That means
is that like the baseball
shut
version?
The F up and
is that the baseball version of shut the F up? Go flip. Is that what that was?
Well, a flip when they flip the ball to the other. But again, you get too many people talking, and that happens. And they got 13 coaches, for God's sakes.
Yeah, there are a lot of coaches.
That's one coach for every 2 players, Ross.
Exactly. Sheesh, really.
Hey, Ross, all kidding aside, I'm not expecting him to win the first string job outright, but we've seen Maverick Hanley now catch 3 or 4 games. He impresses me as a catcher. And he's doing a little bit at the plate. To me, he's doing more to help the team win right now than Sanchez did in the 3.5 weeks he was up.
Well, I'm doing more than Sanchez is doing. I just don't get it. I don't get what you saw in this guy. I don't understand.
I don't get that either.
In the past several years, they've drafted some good defensive catchers, in like the round 4 through 10 range. And right. Hanley's one of those guys who can catch. And Palmer mentioned on one of the broadcasts this weekend that he really appreciates the target that Hanley presents to his pitchers, like a very clear target. That's one of Palmer's big things.
Oh, really?
He always said, I don't know how you're supposed to command the baseball if you don't have a catcher giving you a clear target of where
he gives you the target. He gives you the target. Well, not him, but the catchers now, they give the target, and as the pitchers warm up, they drop their hand.
and I don't know if they're overly worried about like a runner on second, or if they're just lazy. But anyway,
maybe they're trying to balance their bodies with being on one knee.
There you go.
Maybe they're like falling over in the glove.
The old tripod.
Yeah. Anyway, they have drafted some quality defensive catchers in that area. Now the catchers that they've drafted can't really hit, so that's an issue. But when you're drafting catchers in that area, you tend to get players who can do one or the other. And Silas Ardoin at Bowie, he's another guy who can really catch. We'll see if he can hit.
Ross, to Sanchez at 8.5 and Morton 15. Do they make so much that it's almost too embarrassing to release them this quickly?
Well, embarrassing to who?
If it's going to improve the team, I'd get rid of whoever. I mean, it's.
To me, Hanley's much better than Sanchez.
You know,
Well, I guess I mean they brought in again to your point, Stan. I don't know who they were competing against for the $8.5 million deal.
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly was pushing that price up. But anyway, um,
I
they
mean,
brought him in.
get me Sanchez at $3 million. I go, that's a good deal.
Well,
That's
that's
less
what he
than
was making
McCann.
last year in Milwaukee. He
Yeah,
was like making 2 or 3 mil. But anyway, they brought him in to provide more punch, offensive punch than
yeah,
McCann had provided the past couple
right.
years.
How's that working out?
And it's not working out at all.
why did they get rid of McCann? But because of that, they thought that since they breathed the fences in, that Sanchez is going to hit 30 home
I
runs.
think they thought Sanchez had a shot to do what he did in San Diego a couple of years
No,
ago when he hit like 16 or 17.
Well, and the thing is, like in Milwaukee, he didn't even catch last year.
Yeah.
He
no,
was just a DH. So,
Anyway,
yeah.
and that Danny Coulomb, that was a good.
oh, that was the most
That's a good.
flummoxing move that they made in the offseason. Of all the moves that they made, it was
That
a
had to
four,
be that
it,
had to be injury
it
related
was
that
a
they
$4
thought that he
million
was
dollar
just
bet.
gonna, but
Oh,
but they must have thought he was gonna be always hurt.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they were betting $12 million next year that his elbow was going to fall apart or wasn't going to fall apart. It was 4 million bucks.
All
And the
right,
upside was that you get one of the better left-hand relievers in baseball.
yeah, who can get right-handers out too?
Yeah, I'm sure Brandon Hyde would like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure that would make it a lot easier to navigate the late innings if you had
really?
a reliever who could get both hitters out rather than five who can only get the same side out.
yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Although I think all three of us are a little bit more optimistic about the
I didn't
team.
think we sounded optimistic.
No, we
I think
didn't,
we.
but I think Ross and I did.
Okay.
Luke sounds. You
No.
sound
We
like a
just
Luke. You sound
Seriously,
like a
I think they're on. I mean, something good.
Luke.
And I'm usually a negative person when it comes to stuff like that.
Luke, you and I
I
sound.
think Ross just had like a bad round of golf or something, and
Yeah,
just came
maybe
in a bad mood.
it's been a
You
week. I
know,
haven't played.
yeah, okay, he hasn't played enough. All right, I got it.
Luke, you sound like a mutual friend of ours. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Who's going to be the next manager? Can is it Dave Martinez down in Washington?
um,
Schneider,
honestly, I don't think Hyder's
Schneider,
going. I don't
Toronto.
think Hyder's going anywhere
I don't
this
think
season.
Hyder's going anywhere.
Now maybe Mike has been lying to us, but I believe
No,
him
I
when
don't think
he's.
Hyder's
I
going anywhere.
like
Get
he's
back to
done.
me. Get back to me in a month if you see
Um,
something. But I'm asking who's the next guy going to be? Is it Dave Martinez?
no,
That team doesn't look real good.
no.
Schneider, Toronto.
If Toronto has like a tough month, I could see that.
Okay.
I'd like around Memorial Day, like a tough couple of weeks here
Yeah.
ahead of Memorial Day. I think that's possible.
All right. That's going to do it for this week. I want to remind you again, the Costas Inn brings you each and every one of these Zooms that we do every Monday. We'll be back next Monday. Costas Inn, no word yet on the exact opening of the new location, but for now and for a long time, you've got 4100 North Point Boulevard. And reminder, if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to wait to go get my crabs at the new location, when they do open, they're not going to be serving crabs in Timonium. They'll have everything else on the menu: crab cakes, crab soup, and all those great specials, and all kinds of great soups and salads, desserts. But they will not be serving steamed crabs there. But at 410, 477, 1975, 4100 North Point Boulevard, they're still serving those great, delicious steamed crabs. When are you in, Ross? When are you in June
June,
sometime?
the middle of June, I think, around probably the 17th or 18th. We're
All right.
leaving to come down up there.
Do we want to get Singleton in sometime to do the Zoom with us?
Oh, sure. Oh, he'd be
Oh,
more in Renicky possibly.
okay.
He's
Duquette
going
and
he's going back
Duquette
to
said he would
California.
do it. Dan
Yeah.
Duquette's going to do it with us in the next week. All right. All right. That's going to do it for today. For Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. Enjoy your night off. Bye.